Hey, Sean Chandler here to give my daily thoughts on the daily movie news. The thing that was most on my mind today is the rumor mill's kind of running rampant with rumors that Carrie Fisher was supposed to have a major role in Episode 9 of Star Wars, and that Disney has put together a think tank to try to figure out what they need to do in light of her tragic passing last week. With that said, I haven't really addressed this at all on my channel yet, but this one kind of rocked me a little bit for kind of the obvious reasons that Princess Leia in Star Wars has been a part of all of my life. I mean, I don't remember a time before I watched Star Wars and I had the toys my entire life. And Carrie Fisher is just a little bit younger than my mother, and so then that kind of reminds you of our own mortality and life, death, things like that. Just a lot of things come to mind. But I think that what made this one feel particularly tragic and hit so unusually hard is because Carrie Fisher hadn't been in the spotlight for a number of years. I mean, she's been very busy, always working, and not that she's disappeared, become reclusive, but she just hadn't been up front and in the spotlight, very active in interviews until kind of this resurgence of Star Wars. And so over the last couple of years, suddenly we're seeing her at conventions, interviews, explosion of her presence all over Twitter. She's showing up in a Star Wars movie. And so it was like she was young, youthful, vibrant. And we're reminded of her. I knew that her dog's name was Gary and that she takes her dog Gary around with her. And even in light of her passing, I had the thought of, I wonder who's going to take care of her dog Gary. And it turns out her daughter, Billy Lord's going to take care of the dog. And that's stuff that I know because she'd kind of moved back into the forefront. And then she was gone so suddenly, and something that it wasn't like a discussion of like an ongoing disease that she had that kind of over the span of a year we accepted that she was probably going to pass. It wasn't that a tragic accident suddenly happened. It was just a heart attack kind of out of nowhere that just makes it seem so sudden. Anyway, with all that said, in no way to lighten and cheapen the reality that a person that was a daughter, that had a daughter herself, that meant so much to so many people that knew her in real life, not just us that saw her in movies, but people that knew her in real life. Not to cheapen that, but the reality is that she was part of the Star Wars world and a major part in that she's very tightly connected to almost all of the major characters in this franchise that's moving forward. And with that said, there's good reason that Disney is trying to figure out what do we need to do, what options do we have, and there's a dollar value kind of associated with a story and that they'd invested because they hired Colin Trevorrow, which one is it? Colin Trevorrow, over a year ago into this role after Jurassic World came out. And so they've been working and developing this story for a year, assuming that she would be able to be a part of that story. And now tragically, she's no longer with us, and that puts them in a very weird position of they're mourning the loss of a person that they actually know, unlike us. Most of us watch, or I doubt anyone that's watching this knows Carrie Fisher or knew Carrie Fisher, but actually knew her, actually worked with her, and they're it now has like this work business side to it, and as kind of unsettling as it feels to even think about it that way, that it's a reality of this situation. So they're starting to think about what those options are. So just as to put you kind of start thinking about it, as I was kind of thinking like, what does that mean? What are the options? And so I put together a list of 5 possibilities that what could happen or is lined up to happen to move the series forward. And the first possibility of what could happen is that her character was already and was always going to die in Episode 8, the upcoming movie from, well, I guess coming out this year. And perhaps, and I obviously don't know that, perhaps that character is always going to die in this upcoming movie, in which case they're just trying to not spoil the story, but it's already kind of resolved if that's the case. The second thing that could happen is that they could rewrite Episode 8 so that her character dies in the movie, which seems, I don't like that option. That seems very unsettling to do that, to rewrite a story about someone that actually died, or because someone actually died, so that the character in the story dies. But as we kind of go through the potential options that they have, they're pretty limited in what they can do. So that's the second thing they could do. The third one, the character could be killed off, kidnapped, put in prison in some kind in the opening crawl that's displayed at the beginning of Episode 9. So essentially between Episodes 8 and 9, something happens to the character, so the character's gone, and that's explained in the opening crawl, and that's almost the premise of the movie, is that something has happened to her, she's gone and passed away. Option number 4 is that her character could be recreated using CGI with a body double and other points in time. So essentially, what we saw, no wanting to say too much, but some of the effects used in Rogue One could be applied to her, and so the character could live on, could serve the role that was always going to happen, maybe scale it back a little bit, not go as intense as what they were planning, but they bring the character back using CGI. And I know a lot of people, that sounds very unsettling to me, especially because they don't have to do that because the movie hasn't even started shooting yet. There's plenty of time to not have to do that and rewrite the story, to not have to do something like that, of that nature. And the idea of recreating someone that's already passed on is unsettling, and the technology's not quite there to be able to do it beyond kind of single quick little shots. And so that idea sounds really bad to me. And then the 5th option is that they could recast her so someone else plays Princess Leia. Once again, that seems like, blasphemous, a horrible idea to do that. But at a certain point in time, you go, we have to move on. And which one of these options do you go with? Do you want an option where they kill Princess Leia off just because Carrie Fisher died? That is really unsettling. Do you want an option where they use a CGI person? Well, that's unsettling. Do you want an option where they recast her? Well, that seems disrespectful. And I think that's what makes some of it so tricky, is no matter what option you do at this point in time with where things are at, it doesn't feel quite right. And that's somewhat the reality of whatever they end up doing. Other than maybe that, if that first option is true, that she had already kind of died in the script, the movie that they've already shot, they're currently editing. Besides that option, all of these sit pretty bad with me. I really don't like them as options, and that's somewhat the reality of life. And what makes life so tragic and hard is that death really is hard and puts you in a situation where there are no good options. And I say that with the utmost respect. I've always enjoyed her in these Star Wars movies, of course, but then her as a personality in interviews is always so fun and funny. And Disney has a great team of people, a great group of minds, and they have 3 years until that episode 9 comes out, so they have a lot of time to come up with an answer that's more respectful and honoring, that sits better with all of us than the 5 options that I was able to come up with just today. But those are the obvious options on the table, and maybe they've got some perfect way to nail it, to do it just right. I sure hope so. But anyway, how about you? As tastefully as possible. Normally I kind of let people go wild in the comment sections on my video. I won't tolerate that when talking about the death of an actual person. So, but in a respectful fashion of discussion, what do you think would be the right way for them to give a fitting send-off to Princess Leia that honors Carrie Fisher, doesn't step into really unsettling torts and terrors? What do you think? Tell me in the comments section. I don't want to just talk about this great, wonderful person that was Carrie Fisher. I want to talk about her with you and honor her in the comments that we do have in discussion about what that looks like for this series. So comment below. Let's have a discussion about it. Also, if you're new to my channel and you've never clicked that subscribe button, please consider clicking the subscribe button. I love to talk movies, TV, but really, I love to talk with you. And as always, thank you so much for watching.